I'm Justin Davis, and this is Drone Camps RC. Check this out. This is the Awesome F100. How awesome is that? Look at this. It looks like a little shrunk down version of the F200. I just got this in a couple days ago, and I was able to set it up pretty quickly with an XM Plus receiver that I have installed just under here, and the wire comes up. I didn't even use a little bit of a zip tie to bring it off the top. I just let it ride here above this rubber band, and the rubber band holds on the battery on the bottom here. We have a really nice carbon fiber frame on the bottom. It's a unibody frame, and it didn't break, and mainly I think because of the little standoffs that are right here. So every time it hit the ground coming toward an arm, this will flex and save the end of your motor. Right where it would normally break is right at the edge of the motor right here. So I didn't have any problems with breaking this frame. Now I did break the Grasshopper a while back. I had a couple flights with that were pretty hardcore, and I went in and crashed and broke the arm on the Grasshopper. So you might have seen that one on the channel. That one didn't fare so well like this one did. So this frame is holding up really well. The top frame is really easy to take out. You can see it's missing 3 screws on the very top right now. I just removed them a few minutes ago to get inside here and resecure my receiver. It's actually not hard to get these screws out. They weren't Loctited, so I'm going to add some Loctite on those later, but I really think this could ride with just 2 screws on the very top, and then you can access this entire stack on the bottom pretty easily. Now we do have a 600 TVL camera on here, which is very, very standard. I would like to see a little better, maybe 800 TVL added next time. And we do have that video transmitter coming out the back here, and it's built into this board, which is really kind of neat because you have a little button back here, right here. Just bring it in a little bit closer for you to see it. And this is where you're going to change your bands, and you can change your channels right there. So pretty easy to get to. Right on the side right there. And this one is 25 milliwatt, by the way. But this is the box that it comes with. And let me just show you real quick in comparison. The original Awesome Q95 that I had on the channel. Check that out. Is that cool or what? So you can really notice the difference from the side. And look at this metal frame we have here, this aluminum frame. But if you look at the very bottom, this is a 100mm size quad here on the left, and this one is a 95mm. So just a little more room to swing those props, giving you a little more clearance from the frame is actually kind of nice. They're hitting kind of a sweet spot with these 100 to 120 size millimeter brushless micros. I think these are nice because once you get up into this range, you don't have as much issues with clearance. So that makes a big difference. Now on this original Q95, I had a good time flying this one. It was really, really lightweight. I think this one is even lighter than the 100, obviously. But with this extra added metal on here, if I could be a little bit critical, this might give it more rigidity, but it's also going to add maybe more weight than the original Q95 would have with this sort of carbon siding. But we can do a real-time weigh out of both of these quads coming up at the end of the video before we go out and fly. But also on here, we're rocking some ESCs that are 10 amp D-shots, and there was a trick to get the D-shots ESCs working on this one. You might want to check that out on somebody's review. But we also have the GemFan 2035 props on here, which I love a lot. You guys know that I'm a big fan of these. So these are really nice and smooth flying props. They make a big difference when you go to fly a brushless micro. Now also in the box you get an extra set of these, which is super cool. You get some prop guards, and I don't see any screws in there, so you might want to be careful putting longer screws up inside your motors. Just be careful with these prop guards. We also have an included Lipo that comes along with it. It's a 2S 500mm, and this is 25C. It's not a super hot battery, so I actually use my other batteries that I already had XT30s on, and you'll notice that my quad has an XT30 on here. So all my testing, I had a lot more power with this XT30 mod instead of using the JST. Just a better power distribution over to the flight controller and the ESCs and the motors. Now the ESCs, by the way, you can load those up in BL Heli. They are BL Heli compatible, and the flight controller itself is actually Omnibus F3 with OSD, which I love. I do really like Omnibus, especially the F3. But this is a version that looks like it might have actually been made for Awesome, because it's a non-standard size on there. So replacing this flight board, if you decide to put something else on here, you're not going to be able to put a standard size flight controller on this board. But it does look like they have holes for it just shy of each screw. So you can see here, this hole right here and this one here. This might actually be the original pattern for the bottom of this frame, and that's kind of leading me to think that we could put a standard square size flight controller on this if you wanted to. If you wanted to take this one off and start over, so to speak. Now if you look under here, you'll see a couple wires coming in to the very bottom of this, and look at this. This is different. If you burn out a motor and you're going to order new Awesome motors for this, you're just going to unplug these and plug a new one back in. So no soldering required if you have to put a new motor on that. So that's really attractive for new guys that are just getting into the sport. Going to make it a little bit spoiled for you guys, but Awesome, I guess, is maybe trying to be a little more proprietary with that idea. On the very top level, just above that, we have the camera plugging in up here and where the receiver plugs in. And back here, we have a spot where the VTX antenna is kind of glued down to the board so it doesn't move. And it looks like it's on there pretty good. Now also in the box, you do get an extra rubber band, and this one's extra thick. This is probably gonna work a little better than what I have around here. I think my original one actually broke, and I replaced it with this one. But you do get an extra receiver wire with, looks like a 4-pin, yep, a 4-pin plug on the end of that, so you can plug that straight into the flight controller if you have an alternate receiver, or you just need an extra wire. It's always nice to have one handy. Now also in the box, you do get the schematic for your specs on board, and you get this flight controller and ESC schematic. It lets you know what motor plugs in where. If you have Awesome facing this direction, just like you would read it, this is the rear and this is the front here. So motor 1, 2, 3, and 4, just like it is set up in Betaflight. It's all labeled here, which is super nice. It also plugs into the flight controller just above it, this little PWM port right here, and just above that we have a little flight controller schematic on here. It shows you where everything is, like the boot button, the antenna head where it pops on the board, and the toggle button for your VTX and changing channels. It also has the S-Bus set up right here, and you can also do PPM on this port, and it has where the video camera is, video, 5-volt, and ground right there at the very top. And it shows you also where the USB port is, obviously for plugging in Betaflight, and also labels for PWM on the very bottom here of that flight controller. And it has an alternate port on the very rear of it on the bottom for 5-volt, which is kind of nice as well. And you also have a receiver wiring schematic right here, just so you don't solder anything up wrong to your receiver if you decide to add a different receiver on this quad. So now I have both of these quads here on the bench. I have the Q95 here and the F100. Let's go ahead and weigh the F100 and see what kind of dry weight we get here without the battery. So 54 grams without the battery, and with the battery, we're looking at 85 grams. Not bad. Still pretty light for a 100mm size. Now we'll go ahead and set the Q95 on there, and that's 48 grams dry weight, and with the battery, we're getting 79 grams. So yes, the Q95, I thought it felt lighter in my hands, and it actually is. And that's gonna make a difference when you go to fly it. It's just gonna have a little better power to weight ratio, but you're gonna get a little more durability with this frame. I think this one's gonna hold up a little bit better. Now, before we go out and fly this, I had to show you this because this really does look like the little brother to the F200. I'm gonna set the F200 down now so you guys can see. Check this out. Is that cool or what? This is the F200 and this is the F100. It looks like the little brother to the F200. How cool is that? Look at that. It looks very similar. They both have that little bolt on the side for adjusting the camera. So cool. I love that they have sort of a theme going on with these quads lately by Awesome. That's really neat. The baby brother to the F200. So anyway, guys, this was a fun review, and I do like this F100. I think it flies pretty good, and I took some chances with it, and did some pretty hard gaps with it, but it flies and turns on a dime. It's really responsive, so I don't have a whole lot of complaints for this particular build or design, and it did prove to actually be quite durable in my flight tests, and I didn't suffer any issues with anything on it breaking, so I got to give this one a thumbs up from me. So thanks again for watching. You guys enjoy the flight footage out in the field of this Awesome F100.
Alright guys, welcome back to the field. We're going to try to fly line of sight the Awesome 100mm quad, and I already upgraded the connector on here to that XT30, so we should have a little better power than what came with it, that original JST. So I'll go ahead and arm the motors now. And I'm in stabilized mode right now, just kind of cruising here. Pretty quiet though. And those look to be the same size motors as I said before, the other Awesome that came out a few months ago. Pretty good yaw rate on it. Let's try to switch into acro and see how my rates are for default rates. Seems pretty good. Went for a third one there. Nice. Pretty good line of sight flyer. Fast and quiet. Super smooth. It's a little acro forward flight there. Go back in to stabilize. Okay, back over in front of us. Let's try to get it a little bit closer to me so you guys can see it in the air. Shouldn't have any problem with power with this XT30 on there. Super cool looking little quad. I like this aluminum on here. I believe that's 70-75 aluminum. Same as on the F200. Same type of aluminum. There's a lot of purple out there on quads lately. I kind of like it. These are the Gym Fan 2035s on here. There goes our punch out. Wow. Now I'm going to have to put it back in stabilize to get it back down. Way up there. Let's do that again while we still have a little bit of battery left. You ready for it? 1, 2, 3. Very nice. I think it's gone. Now, if you're just joining me on the channel, be sure to watch a lot of these micro videos because there's a ton of them out there. It's kind of hard to decide what micro to get because there's so many of them. Some of my top favorites have been the Baby Hawk. Had a lot of fun with that. It has 1104 motors. I like a lot of these Awesome ones. The Awesome ones have done well for me. They've been reliable in my own experiences. Most of them have F3 flight controllers on them and some type of OSD. This one doesn't have a beeper, which I find kind of strange. Just do some throttle punches there for you. Pretty nice. And a lot of them come with JST connectors, so a lot of times I do upgrade it to the XT30 because you're just going to get a better power to rate ratio. So this battery's about done, you guys. Let's go ahead and hook this up to my Fat Shark goggles. Let's do a little FPV with this Awesome 100. Go ahead and set it down on the landing pad. There we go.